And welcome to Indie Social. This is the podcast where I, Dylan Yeager,
and Michael Huntington
interview independent filmmakers. And today we have a very special guest,
Rob Merritt. And what we're going to be doing tonight is watching the final episodes of Stay Indie. So it's 4, 5, and 6. And then after, you'll be able to hang out with Rob and ask him questions. And he'll be here for a little over an hour, and we'll just be hanging out.
It's going to be a good episode. And before the show gets going, guys, I just wanted to say something personal here. I know a lot of you in the Iowa film community saw my video I posted a few nights ago. And so a lot of you know what I'm talking about. And those who don't, a little bit about my personal life. I am going through a separation. I'm a single dad now. And my mental health isn't the greatest. But just want everybody to know I'm doing okay. I'm doing the best I possibly can do. Please be nice. This was fairly mutual. So nobody hate on nobody. Okay. Everybody spread the love. We all love everybody. And let's just have a good episode, guys, because I'm doing good. We're here to have fun. So cue the theme song.
Yeah. Welcome to the show.
Hello, everybody, and this is Iowa Film Community News. And today, Chase Stein just announced he's getting married next October and is looking for a photographer and videographer and is reaching out to his Iowa film friends and family and is, looking for recommendations. And my recommendation is 122 Studios. Are you kidding me? They are the best in town. Brittany and Michael, come on, buddy, reach out to them. Seriously, they do fantastic work. And next, John Murphy is shooting a sci-fi film January through February and is looking for actors and crew. The film is called The Seeker, and he is needing 3 male actors, one actor who looks to be around 20 and the other two 40 and 50. Acting experience is a plus. More details on Iowa Film. And Ryan Holtkamp is holding a casting call for a video game trailer and Kickstarter, shooting at the end of November through December. Go to Iowa Film to learn more on how to audition. Adam Fast is holding auditions for voice acting for a Pokemon project. Guys, I'm not sure if this is a video game or if this is a cartoon, but I do know you can learn more by contacting him on Iowa Film. And, guys, I have a big announcement here. Michael James Menard just released his successful horror film, The Entity, and is now in a pre-production for his next big film, Dead Man Walking. Now, I got to be careful here, guys. This film is already cast. I can't say too much. This is top secret. I might have a little red laser right here on my forehead, so I got to be careful. But I just know that you guys are in for a treat. I heard a little bit of info on here. This is a fantastic cast. I know you guys probably will be mind blown when you see the cast, guys. This is going to be something pretty interesting. So stay tuned because he will be doing some big announcements here real soon. But that's all I have for you guys right now. So Michael, are you ready to announce our guest?
Yeah, man.
Let's do this. Tonight's guest has established his Iowa entertainment presence both on and off film. If you haven't already worked with him, hopefully you'll get the chance. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Rob Merritt. Come on in, buddy.
Woo! Give it up for Rob Merritt, boys!
Hello.
Welcome to the show, Rob.
Thank you.
You were one of our first people, I believe, on our first season of Indie Social when we were doing audio, so it's good to have you back on the live format.
This is a really cool setup you guys have here.
Well, you have a fantastic voice, but we needed everybody to see your fantastic face.
That's right. So go ahead and tell the people what we're watching tonight.
We're watching the last 3 episodes of the web series Stay Indie, which I got to make with you and with with Brittany and getting to work opposite Bryce, who was I know on the show about a month ago.
Yeah.
And and this was just a really really fun project. It's very funny. It was a 6-episode run, and I'm hoping you guys will bring it back for season 2.
Yeah, man. I mean, you never know. Like you said, man, it was a fun little thing that we did, and we were lucky enough to get it funded on Kickstarter, and we were able to do a whole production, and that was crazy. And it was a lot of fun, man. And it didn't get a ton of views, kind of, starting out, and it's kind of getting there as we go forward. But yeah, I love it, man, and I love showing people it because it's just cool that we made a web series.
Well, hopefully this helps out because it's phenomenal work. You and Bryce feed off of each other so well. It's hilarious. So we need to keep hyping this up because people need to watch it. It's so good.
Well, and it's not just Bryce too. I mean, Damien's in it,
Yep.
and Amanda, and
Emil.
Emil's actually heavily featured in like the last episode, and
Yep.
that was actually the first time I ever got to work with Emil on
Oh,
camera.
really?
And it was so much fun. He's
awesome.
he's a great dude, tamed actor, and
We
we had a lot of fun.
Episode 5 and 6 are like my favorite episodes of the show, so I'm happy to be showing, the people this. So, yeah, awesome. Well, let's go ahead and start rolling it.
Yeah.
Hey guys, it's Andy. Andy here, and I just wanted to give you a quick update on what's been going on in my neck of the woods. So, I don't have any money to pay rent, which means I also haven't been able to pay for utilities either. So I've been trying to think of clever ways, to save money on the bills. Like, I started saving the shower water to wash the clothes. But Kyle thinks it's gross. But I don't think it's gross. I mean, I haven't even been using it to wash my clothes. Just his. Clever, right? Before going by Indie Andy, I thought about going by Handy Andy. But then, let's just say I started attracting the wrong kind of casting directors.
I met my best friend, roommate Kyle, back in college dorms. We've been best friends since then, for that I am sure. Then manager Jeff, he's the best dressed amateur mess. And landlord Mr. G, he's always trying to bother me. This is staying deep, the newest web series. This is gonna be sweet, just wait and see.
Oh, good morning, Kyle.
You're talking now? I thought you took like some oath of silence or something.
Oh yeah, so about that, I got a hold of the director, and he said they're not going to start filming for a couple of weeks. And so I figured, why start so early, That would be like celebrating Christmas in July. Sure, it'd be totally awesome at first, but it would just ruin it later. Plus, with it being the end of the month, I figured, why not start till then?
You know what else would be really good for you to start doing by the end of the month?
By the way, where the heck were you all last night? You look like a mess, dude.
I had courtside seats.
You went to a basketball game without me?
No, I said I had courtside seats. I was with Courtney all night.
Oh!
It's funny, right? Courtney didn't seem to think so. She said that I rely too much on dad humor or something, whatever that means.
Well, she's right. Yeah, dude, it totally wasn't funny. I was just laughing to make you feel better. I'm sorry, bro.
Wow. Well, since no one seems to appreciate my humor, I don't think I'm going to be talking to you for the rest of the day.
So, if you weren't at a basketball game, where the heck were you last night?
Courtney and I went to a bar.
You went to a bar? What were you doing at a bar? You know you can't drink. So if there's one thing you should know about Kyle, is that he's a total lightweight. I mean, he can't handle his alcohol for anything. Like, this one time, his ex burnt all the food at a grill out, so he had to eat all the beer brats to try to make her feel better. Well, he ended up getting a hangover and throwing up all night. It was hilarious.
Andy keeps on insisting that I'm a lightweight, but the truth is, I just have a sensitive stomach. I mean, if it wasn't for that, I'm pretty sure everybody knows I'd be able to drink him under the table. Also, I don't know why he keeps bringing up that stupid beer brat story. I mean, look, everybody knows that when you cook a beer brat, the alcohol cooks off. I don't know why he has to keep telling everybody that I had a hangover just because I was in the bathroom all night. No, I wasn't drinking, okay? We went there to see a band.
Oh, nice. What band?
Trash Can Autopsy or something?
Trash Can Autopsy? Dude, that's the band Chef manages. They're awesome.
Dude, they suck.
What?
All that they do is play death metal covers of Katy Perry. All right? I mean, at one point, the lead singer took the guitar and put the strings between his teeth like he was flossing or something.
You saw Mike do the gum grind? Oh, lucky. I want to see Mike do the gum grind.
Anyway, I still have a headache from last night, so I think I'm just going to have to call in sick today.
All right. Andy, and Mile Kyle back together again. The dynamic duo. All aboard the train to Chillville. Woot woot!
Wow, that was actually pretty good. How'd you do that smoke effect?
Oh, what smoke effect? Oh!
What were you cooking?
I was cooking the faco!
The what?
The faco! The faco! Just look in the trash can.
You burnt my faking?
Oh, so that's what it's called. See, at first I thought the B was scratched off to look like an F, and then I realized, duh, it's French bacon at the end was silent.
Andy, this stuff is expensive.
Well, geez, no wonder we're so broke. You wouldn't go around buying gourmet food all the time.
I can't eat the real stuff. You know that. I have a sensitive stomach.
Well, it's not my fault. Your stomach is the one that came in.
Hey, let me in. I smell smoke. You two know the rules. No smoking allowed in the building. Hey!
You answer it. You answer it. I'm not gonna answer it. He's weird.
What do you mean he's weird?
He argues with bees, dude. What are you talking about? He argues
I
with bees.
can hear you in there. Let me in or I let myself in and call the police.
Hey, Mr. G, what's cooking?
I smell smoke. You were smoking. You know that smoking is not allowed in the building. What did I say about parties? No parties allowed, except on holidays.
Oh, whoa, Mr. G. We're not having a party. We're filming a show.
Show?
It's supposed to be my big break. So what do you say? I'll even let you star in it.
Okay. You film. But you clean up this mess and help me paint the buildings.
What?
Well, I think that went pretty well.
I hate you.
Yeah, I know.
You record me, I record you.
Next time on Stay Indie.
Is that my cereal? Oh, I forgot. You're working today, aren't you? Well, anyway, I hope you at least make some money this time. You have your script and you know where you're going? All right. I guess I'll see you when I see you.
Hey, you. Enough TV. I have work for you.
What are you talking about? I already finished cleaning out the gutters.
I don't care. I have new work for you.
Hey everyone, it's Andy here. And I just wanted to give a quick shout out and a thank you to all the followers and fans. I especially want to shout out Jeremy, Maddie, Amy, Beth, and Wes. Thank you so much, it really means the world to me. Anyway, I just wanted to let you know that everything is starting to fall into place. Soon, the whole world will know the name Indie Andy. As many of you may know, I recently landed the lead role in a slasher film called She Is Mime. A rampaging killer mime is just the kind of role I'm ready to sink my teeth into. I've got my costume all ready to go. See? Looks good, right? Anyways, to get ready for the role, I've decided to go 24 hours without speaking. I have no idea how I'm going to communicate with the outside world. But that's part of the fun of it, right? You know, I actually tried learning sign language for it, but a cop almost arrested me when I was practicing because he thought I was learning gang signs. So, anyway, maybe I'll use my notebook or something. I don't know. It's getting about that time. So remember, everyone, eat your green vegetables. Don't eat yellow snow. And God bless America.
I met my best friend, roommate Kyle, back in college dorms. We've been best friends since then, for that I am sure. Then manager Jeff, he's the best dressed amateur mess. And landlord Mr. G, he's always trying to bother me. This is staying deep, the newest web series. This is gonna be sweet, just wait and see.
Last night, another body was found dead on the corner of 3rd Avenue. Evidence suggests that this is yet another victim of what is now confirmed to be a serial killer.
Hey, speaking of serial killers, is that my cereal? Oh, I forgot. You're working today, aren't you? She is mime. A murderous mime is on the loose. He mutilates his victims with unspeakable acts. They never hear him coming. Well, anyway, I hope you at least make some money this time. You have your script and you know where you're going? All right. I guess I'll see you when I see you.
Hey, you. Enough TV. I've worked for you.
What are you talking about? I already finished cleaning out the gutters.
I don't care. I have new work for you.
Ever since Andy got Mr. G to let him film his show, I've been stuck as Mr. G's errand boy. And first he made me paint the house, and then he had me fixing shutters and like all these different fixtures. And now he's just got me doing every weird odd job you could think of. He even made me clean his toilet once. Now, I don't want to get too personal, but I'm not the only one who has digestive issues. And of course, I don't get paid for any of this, but on the plus side, it does keep Mr. G off of our back about the rent, so I guess it's a win-win.
No comment.
Well, I take it by your silence you've already started your little silence commitment.
I don't know how you're gonna do it, man.
Me, I can never commit to anything. Well, except for social media. That's one commitment I can never give up. Anyways, I just called to let you know that the directors know you're on your way and about your whole little oath of silence thing. Remember, you're filming Scene 7 today, and that's when your character gets caught at the scene of the crime. Hope it all goes well, man. Just let me know.
This is Danica reporting live at the scene of the crime. Just this morning, what is reported to be another one of the serial killer victims, now known as the silent killer, was found just inside the building. We just got word we have been given permission to enter the premises.
Andy, I don't know about this, man.
Hey, Butch. What are you doing over here? Well, say something. Hold on. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say will and can be used against you in a court of law.
Dude, this isn't in the script.
You have the right to an attorney. If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be provided for you.
Those are kind of tight. Oh, that hurt.
Quiet. This is Detective Smith. We have the silent killer in custody. We're on our way down to the station.
Silent killer? Hold on, man. I'm innocent.
Shut down those
Dude,
cameras.
I'm an actor. My name is Andy Tuckerman. This is a student film.
Breaking news. The silent killer was just taken into custody at the scene of the crime just hours before his victim was discovered. Our crew was here to catch the arrest.
Silent killer, hold on. I'm not the silent killer, man. My name is Andy Tuckerman. I'm an actor, man. This is a student film. I'm innocent. I'm innocent. I'm innocent. Ah!
Next time.
So I bet you're all wondering how I got myself into this situation. So it all started when I walked out the house this morning.
Quiet, you. Who let all these cameras in here anyway?
For the last time, I'm not the silent killer. My name is Andy, but if you really want to call me by name, at least call me Andy. Plus, I thought the silent killer wasn't supposed to talk. All I do is talk. Talk, talk.
This doesn't look too good for you. Is it a coincidence that you have detailed notes in here from a bar, from where a victim was last seen before a body was dumped?
I want my lawyer.
Well, today's your lucky day, killer. You have visitors.
Andy, what did you get yourself into now?
They think I'm the silent killer.
Why would they think that you're the silent killer? What did you do? Do I think that Andy is the silent killer? Of course not. There's absolutely nothing silent about him. Besides, okay, I realize he's annoying, but he's basically harmless. And there's no way that Andy could possibly coordinate murders that are this complex. I mean, come on. Andy still thinks that a meteorologist is a urologist who has a really meaty... I don't even want to talk about it.
Hey, buddy. Get me something to wet my whistle, will you? It was a long drive. Sparkling water, anything carbonated. Thanks, Chief.
Or there was the time that you swallowed 4 ghost peppers because Jeff told you that it'd make it easier to talk to the dead. But this is the dumbest thing I have ever seen you do. And by the way, if you needed me to talk to Jeff, why didn't you just tell me to call Jeff? I have him in my contacts. You know, it would have been a lot easier to just look that up than it was to turn the entire house upside down looking for a little piece of paper that said lawyer on it. And by the way, when did Jeff become a lawyer?
Oh, he's always been my lawyer.
Thank you.
Okay, look, I realize you like having this guy as your agent, but I'm telling you, having him represent you in court is a really bad idea.
Hey, what's wrong with me representing him in court? I'm sure I know way more about courts than you do, buddy. In fact, I don't think you've even been in a courtroom, let alone Courtney's room.
You know what? You're right. So apparently...
Okay, everybody shut up. First off, I know for a fact that the only courtroom you have ever been in was after you had that failed Ponzi scheme and all the moms from the PTA wanted their money back. Second, what I do in Courtney's room is my business. And finally, oh hey, did we all forget that there's an actual killer out there while Andy is sitting in here facing murder charges. So unless we all figure out what to do, Andy's gonna be facing a lot of jail time.
So what are we gonna do?
Okay, look, I work in a government building. I have some friends who I could... Okay, people. I happen to know some people who might be able to...
All right, guys. Visiting hours are over. That includes you guys, too.
Please get me out of this situation.
All right, look, Andy, just sit tight, okay? We're gonna figure something out.
I got you, buddy.
I can't believe they think Andy is the silent killer.
I can't believe Andy lost the role of a lifetime. That's showbiz for you. Hey, you want to go get burgers?
Do you have burger money?
No.
Didn't think so.
Well, if you're not going to take me to go get burgers, could you at least drive me to meet someone?
Who would you possibly need to go meet all of a sudden?
Nothing big. I just got an alert from Meal Dash. Says I gotta deliver some noodles to a guy. Oh, come on. That place isn't that far from here.
When did you start delivering food?
That's my secret, Kyle. I'm always hustling. Besides being a manager and a part-time lawyer, I'm also a natural-born hustler. Clothes, watches, purses. I've sold it all. Have you ever heard of Adidas sneakers? Neither have I, but that didn't stop me from selling 2 pairs before I got caught. Hey, any money that I make is going to help Andy out, and I have a feeling that he's going to need all the financial help that he can get.
He always does.
So, can we go? If we wait too long, we won't get a tip.
Why do I even bother? This is weird. Offices aren't usually open this late.
Well, maybe the dude stayed late for work, Kyle. Respect the grind.
Just deliver the food and let's go.
I need someone to actually be here for me to do that, don't I? Hello? Hello?
Jeff! Look.
Paint rags. So what?
Wait, are you kidding? That's not paint.
Well, if it's not paint, what else would it be?
I smell bleach, Jeff. Somebody's been doing some cleaning in here, and it's not paint. Look, we need to go.
Oh, buddy. You don't look so good. Did you get mauled by a bear or something?
I don't think that guy's a real janitor, and I definitely don't think that that is spilled paint. I think that that guy killed somebody, and he's trying to cover up all the evidence.
I got your noodles.
Jeff.
No, easy. Don't get sued.
We're gonna get Andy out of jail. That is the silent killer.
No.
Yeah, we need to call the cops right now.
Oh no, go ahead. I gotta get on my socials. Andy, proven innocent. This is gonna be so great for the show.
Yeah, listen, send officers right now. We have the silent killer.
Hey guys, Jeff did it. I'm a free man.
Andy, you're going viral.
Ew, gross.
Shut up, follow me.
Okay. Whoa.
We are currently standing out here with the previously accused silent killer, who's recently been proven innocent, whose arrest has gone viral overnight.
I'm innocent! I'm innocent! I'm innocent! Ah!
Tell us, who are you?
I'm Andy. I'm Andy.
So I see Andy made the news. Everything is working as planned. Should we begin phase 2? Good. Call Jeff.
Oh, hold on. I gotta mute the TV. And welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much for
Man,
tuning
what
in.
a twist. Michael, I got a question for you. How did you come up with that ending?
Yeah, well, so it wasn't written in the script, and I don't know. I just know we had to end the show kind of on a cliffhanger for if we ever made a season 2. I guess my thought was that Jeff sort of becomes this secret villain in a way, like he's sort of setting up all this crazy stuff that Andy's been getting into. I don't know. I can't think of why I thought of it then, actually, but
Because that's his secret. He's always hustling.
there you go. He's always hustling, man. He's doing
It's
something
one of
to
my
make
favorite
money.
lines from that whole series.
I'm always hustling. But yeah, man. So that was Stay Indie. When did we film that?
I
'Cause
want to say
obviously
it
it was
like
cold.
Yeah, like beginning of the
February.
year. But it's weird because I feel like we've been working on it a lot longer than that because we filmed like a few episodes of it, 2 or 3 years ago?
Yeah, it was a while ago, man. I don't even know what year. 2018, I think, actually.
Yeah, and it was really weird shooting the kitchen scene again because we had done that one before, me and Bryce, and it was like, and it went really well. But, we didn't want to just do an imitation of what we did the first time, so it went in a totally different direction the second time.
Yeah, it definitely did. And God, man, like I can't even remember what episodes we did. We did the intro. I remember that, the first episode. We did the 4th episode. And then I just remember we could never get the timing right to finish the rest of the show. So going this time, remaking it, we wanted to make sure that we did everything within a week or a weekend. Is that it? Was it 3 filming days? Yeah.
Yeah,
so
it was
anyway,
all real quick.
Yeah. So it was six separate episodes, over 40 pages probably. It was a lot of work. Luckily, we did a mockumentary, so it was nice to just kind of point the camera at places.
Well, and honestly, that's one of the things that I've always appreciated about working with you and Brittany is that you just if there are a lot of directors, if they had said, hey, we're going to film an entire 6-episode web series in a weekend, I'd be like, yeah, that's not going to happen. But when you guys said you were going to do it, I was like, they might actually pull that off because you run very efficient sets and you get things done and you don't waste a lot of time. You make really good use of people's time, which is if you've done a lot of films, you become really appreciative of directors who do that.
Yeah. I mean, I remember the first set I ever went on, and that was an issue with us. It was a film that was entirely filmed with a GoPro, and we were there for like 10 hours, and like half the time the people were just talking. I was like, I do not want to do this when I have sets. So that's something that we always try to do to like make the best experience, use time efficiently, because a lot of times with these productions, as you know, not a lot of it is paid. So it's like the only thing you have is time, especially when making this stuff. So time is valuable, man. So yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. But anyway, man, so yeah, let's just start it off here, man. What kind of started you getting into, or what started you kind of pursuing acting? Was it something that you always knew that you wanted to do, or
God, you know,
where does the journey start?
I want to tell you this big, profound story about how it was like always in my soul and I had to do it. No, I had a crush on a girl when I was in high school.
Love story.
And she was in the theater department. And they were having auditions for A Christmas Carol at Jefferson High School, and she was going to be doing it. And I was in, ironically enough, chemistry class with her. And I was like, well, I'm going to go audition for that play. I've never auditioned for a play before, but I'm going to do it. And I remember going down there, and I was standing at the door outside the little theater at Jefferson High School, and it just suddenly hits me. Oh man, we're really doing this. Maybe I shouldn't do this. Maybe this is a bad idea. I think we should. I could just walk around. I could turn around. I could go home, and no one would ever know I was here. And then all of a sudden, my friend Tyson Caffrey comes around the corner, and he's like, "Oh, hey, Rob, are you auditioning?" And I'm like, yes. And so I did, and I got cast. It was a small part. I was playing one of the three gentlemen that talk about after Scrooge.
Yeah.
When he's seeing the future, and we're going through all that, and it was fun. I was having a good time. And then we wound up doing this thing that some of the high schools I think still do around here, which is that in order to get some excitement whipped up among the student body, they'll do like previews of the show where they perform like a 20-minute clipping of it, and language arts classes all come down, and and it's cool because if you're in the play, it means you like basically get the day off from school because you spend the whole day in the auditorium.
My high school always did that for the elementary students. Like the elementary students would come, and we got to put on the show for them, kind of a little preview.
And so we're doing that, and the thing is that my scene wasn't in that clipping, but I was part of the stage crew when I wasn't on stage, and so I'd always help to move this set piece for the part where Fezziwig's party was going on, and so we're doing one of the performances, and it's gotten to the point, if you've ever done a play, after a while, it's kind of like you almost know everybody else's lines because you've heard them so many times.
A million times, yeah.
And you get used to a routine. And I remember looking over at the spot where the girl who was playing, there's the scene where young Scrooge is sitting in the schoolyard, and then his sister comes to take him home. And I look over, and the actress who's supposed to play the sister, she's not standing in her spot. And I'm like, well, that's weird. And then it gets to the part where like it's her cue line, and she is still not there. And then there's just silence on the stage. And it's like that horrible moment where, it's like this train wreck. And you hear the people on stage kind of trying to cover it. After there was like 10 seconds of silence. And then I heard the guy playing Scrooge go, "Why, it's me." And there's about another 10 seconds of silence, and the Ghost of Christmas Past goes, "Yes, it is." And like more silence, and so I'm back here, and there's another guy that's in the play with me, but he's playing, and he's like, I have to go on as Fezziwig. If I wasn't, he was like in the bald cap, and he was like, if I have to go on as Fezziwig, if I didn't, I'd just go out there and do it, And the thing is, I was in costume, and I was like, and I like ran out because I knew, and I was like, and I suddenly ran out there, and I became Scrooge's brother, and I started doing all the same lines because because the same thing. Like you've been backstage so much, you kind of know it. Because it was just this crazy thing. I go out there, and I'm like, "Ebenezer, I've come to take you home," and the kid that's playing young Scrooge looks at me, and he's like, "Really?" And it was just, and so we start doing it, and then about a minute into the scene, all of a sudden the real one comes running on stage, going, "Ebenezer, I've come." So now there's two of us, and so she's like doing her lines, and every time she'll say something, I'll be like, "Yes, it's true, we are," and we get off stage, and I'm like, "Oh, I'm dead. I'm so dead." and when they finish the scene and everybody goes out and like all of a sudden other people in the cast are coming up there and they're like, that was amazing, that's so cool you did that, you know, and I was like, and I was just, in that moment I was just totally bit, you know. All of a sudden I was like, I love this crap. And I've been acting ever since. So yeah, and in a little postscript, the girl that I had a crush on, I never wound up dating her.
That was a question here.
I never did.
Someone said, but did you get the girl?
I didn't get the girl, but I sure got the stage.
Hey, man, there you go. And then were your friends cool about you kind of doing this whole acting thing? Were they supportive, or were they kind of weirded out by it?
I think because, you know, the only time I ever really had to make a choice was my senior year. I had gotten so into theater by that point, and I was running track and cross country, and I wound up. I auditioned for the fall play and I got in, and I wound up leaving the cross country team because I was like, wow, that's where I would rather be.
I was going to ask you if you did any like sports or anything besides theater.
I did sports that uncoordinated people can do, which is why track and cross country appealed to me. You know, I didn't want to do like football, basketball; those things all require skill. You know, with track and cross country, it just requires an incredible tolerance of pain. It's just like, you know, just run. Run faster.
Keep running. So
I can't breathe. Keep going, man.
Well,
I was like, I can do that. I don't have to dribble a ball. I don't have to. I just have to suffer through it.
Well, you obviously have really good cardio because you just got done doing Ragbri not too long ago.
I did just get done. Well, it's been a few months at this point, but yes.
It feels like it was yesterday.
Well, the cool thing about that, not only did you do Ragbri, you also documented the whole process. What was that like, kind of committing to doing the race, but also making a documentary out of it? Was it hard to kind of do?
It was pretty stupid. You know, I mean, I'm doing this race I've never done before, and I have no idea what to expect, and it's totally kicking my butt. And on top of that, I'm also trying to like mount. You know, I'm riding the whole race with like one of those GoPro chesty mounts, which they get really hot and sweaty having that thing on for 8 hours.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm trying to keep other cameras going, and I'm trying to do narration. Fortunately, I was out there with a really good friend of mine, Tim Arnold.
He seems super
and
cool,
he
man.
was really he was totally game for it.
That's awesome.
And plus we were doing like we were calling in every day to Z102.9, and so that kind of gave us a framing device. So there were a bunch of little pieces, but at the same time, you know, trying to figure out how to recharge all the cameras when you're in you're camping in a field.
Yeah.
You know, I brought a lot of those like spare battery packs, you know, and I'd plug in at night, and it was tricky to coordinate it all, but it was such a cool experience that I'm glad we did.
Man, and it's such an interesting documentary too. The whole time I was watching it, I was like, man, he's getting up so early. What time would you go to sleep? And like you would get up at ridiculous hours to start racing.
So I had no idea there was a documentary out there. So
yeah,
maybe
it's like 17 minutes.
Maybe this is answered in that documentary, but did you ever have any moments of like regret, like halfway through it, and you're like, I want to go home now. This is dumb.
It was not so much regret.
That requires a lot of work.
When it got to around day 3, and I still had not really been able to sleep more than about 1 or 2 hours a night. Like at that point, I was actually starting to get a little, I don't want to say panicky, but I was like, I can't keep going if I can't figure out how to, because every like the first night, there was like a rock. There was like a bunch of people that had a party until 2:00 in the morning, and we were like, that's fine. It's the first night. We'll be okay. And then the second night, camped next to there was a tent next to me, and the dude just. I mean, there's people that snore, and then there was this guy.
Yes.
And it's seriously, it got to be like 2:00 in the morning, and I'm looking, and I'm like, this is not ending, is it? He's been going for 4 hours, and I actually wound up picking up my entire tent and moving it, and so then I got like 3 hours of sleep, and then we get to the next town, and it was like super hot, and so you couldn't sleep through the heat, and it was just like, oh man, please tell me I'm gonna fall asleep. It wasn't until we got to Anamosa. Night 4 that I finally had like a solid night's sleep. So there was a period of time in there where I was like, I don't know if I'm physically gonna make it.
Aren't people also drinking kind of while they're? How do you do that? When we were watching that, and like people were drinking and shit, I'm like, I cannot fathom doing exercise and then drinking. Because like how long are you on the road in terms of hours?
It depends. Every day is a little like some days. The longest day was like 90 some miles, but there were a couple that were like 60, you know, and so, but the whole point of Ragbri is it's not supposed to be a race.
Right,
You're
right.
not trying to get it done as fast
be
as
the
you
first
can.
one, yeah.
You know, I mean, the thing is you ride like 10, 15 miles, and then you get to like a town and you stop and you hang out for a while, and then you ride another 10, 15 miles, and then you have lunch, and you know, people have beers, and there's beer tents, and there's things like
So
that.
it's meant to be enjoyable.
Yeah, and by the time you get, you know, so you might be on your bike, you might leave at like, you know, 6 o'clock in the morning, and you roll into the final town maybe around 3 or 4 or something like that. I mean, there are some people who they ride straight through as fast as they can, and they get to the town by like, you know, noon or sooner. But you know, we kind of wanted to just experience it, take it easy.
Yeah, and that's also being your first time as well, right?
Yeah. We also wanted to make it.
Right. So what's the whole thing? Because don't you dip your tires in water at the end?
You
right?
do.
So what is that whole thing? Because I don't know if you mentioned that in your documentary or.
Yeah, no, it's because you know there's a river on each side of the state, so it's like people will dip their tire in one river before they start, and then when they get to the end, it's like a symbolic. You made it by dipping your tire in the other one.
Okay.
When we started this one, the river was actually like 20 miles outside of town, so they actually brought a whole bunch of water from the river and poured it into like a wading pool. Okay. And then you could just dip your tire in
brought
that
the
thing.
river to you.
Yeah,
Nice.
which was appreciated.
So backtracking a little bit more here, I kind of still want to figure out how you got into film. So out of high school, so all throughout high school you were doing plays and stuff?
Oh yeah.
So going into college, was that something that you were pursuing, or was that still just something that you were kind of just putting your side hobby to in a way? Is that what you pursued in college?
I was a double major of theater and of journalism at the University of Iowa. So I was doing journalism because I still had that whole, well, you know, you got to have like a safety career. But I loved theater, and I was taking as many acting classes as I could. And you know, and the University of Iowa also does have a good film program, and I had friends that were in there, and so the first films that I was doing were like student films. My roommate was in the film program, and so I got to, you know, he connected me with some people, and there were people in the theater department who were also doing film, and so there were a lot of opportunities, and honestly, that was the thing that I think really cemented it for me, was that at the University of Iowa, there were so many opportunities to be on stage, to be in front of the camera. They're just, because there were so many students that were putting on so many different productions. And so and the thing also was that when I was in college, you know, I was taking acting classes, and, you know, and so I was learning technique and all that kind of stuff. But I feel like I've grown a lot as an actor since college, because as much as, you know, I learned in classes stuff you're supposed to do, I found that one of the best ways to learn is just do it. And the more, you know, and so the more that I've done shows and the more that I've done films, the more that I have like learned just through trial and error. Like, oh, this works, this doesn't so much.
So before Iowa Film was a thing, because I'm not sure when that Facebook group was created, how were you getting these roles? Like, how were you finding casting calls and stuff like that?
Well, if you're doing a lot in theater, it just naturally follows that sometimes either somebody who you do a lot of theater with is working on a film project and tells you about it, or sometimes, and I don't understand why more film people don't do this, sometimes a film director will go to a theater and be like, hey, I need actors. It amazes me actually that there are, like, I constantly will hear directors saying, oh, I'm trying to find actors. And I'm like, go talk to the community theater. There's like an entire pool of them.
A whole bunch of people.
I mean, and it's obviously a different technique on stage versus on film, but still, you're going to get people who understand the basics of, how to learn a script, how to do, and you can work with them. So yeah, opportunities like that. Actually, funny thing, a really good friend of mine, John Valley, he was a student at Iowa, and I knew him from Marshalltown. And so once he went to Iowa, you know, he was doing a lot of film projects and inviting me to be part of those. And so, you know, that's another thing, is that you make friends who are filmmakers, and then once you've worked with them, you know, once or twice, they keep coming back to you because as future projects come up, either they're like, oh, I'm writing this role and you're like, you would be perfect for it, or sometimes it's just, they're like, hey, is there anything in this script that interests you? Take a look at it. The cool thing about, actually, I mentioned John Valley. John is now a filmmaker in Austin.
Wow.
And I'm super excited for him because actually just today, his movie, The Pizzagate Massacre, it finally,
great name.
It's a fantastic name. It went live on Vudu, Amazon Prime,
Wow,
like all those
man.
places.
And it's a feature?
It's a feature, and it's getting like really like the Austin Chronicle did this whole big write up on it because he got into a bunch of trouble with it, I guess,
really?
Because it's kind of about it kind of plays with like conspiracy theories and conspiracy nuts, and it plays on that whole thing from a couple of years ago when there was like a QAnon thing about how there was this pizza place where Hillary Clinton was, running like there was like a like kids were getting abused there or something.
Whoa.
It was like this ridiculous urban legend, but like there were these people that believed it, and somebody showed up at the pizza shop and like shot people there because he thought he was going to rescue kids, and it was it was so messed up. And so that kind of was the inspiration for him to make this movie about this guy that's like a conspiracy nut, and then everything. But it's and yeah, he's had a hard time getting it going, but it's fun seeing somebody who got their start in the Iowa film scene who now is doing stuff on the national level and like really killing it. And so yeah, like a plug for John Valley.
Yeah, man. I mean, I want to check it out
Yeah.
real quick. I mean, have you ever heard of the conspiracy with Chuck E. Cheese? How like all of their pizzas are separate shapes. So they used to say that like, Brittany's laughing at me here, that they used to say that like the pizza that kids don't eat, they would just save the pizza and then replate it and serve it out to people.
Oh, that's not a conspiracy. They do that.
Do they? Okay, because I mean, they might.
No idea.
But there was this creator, Shane Dawson. He like did a whole documentary on it, and it's the most interesting thing if you watch it because it's like, man, what if it was true? But anyway.
All right, so I got a question for you.
Yeah.
So I swear you told me that on our way to film Happy Birthday that either you or you have a friend that is friends with either Ashton Kutcher or Elijah Wood, or you went to the same school.
No, I went to Catholic school with Elijah Wood. Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Okay.
Elijah Wood went to St. Patrick's Elementary in Cedar Rapids, which no longer exists.
What?
Yeah.
And,
okay, tell that story because I was blown away by it.
No, I mean, I didn't. Okay, now in fairness, I didn't know Elijah because I was in 7th grade.
Oh,
and he was in like
lie
first
a little
grade.
bit, lie a little
No,
bit.
no,
You
that's
guys
what my
sat
classmates
next
do.
to each other.
I have people I went to school with who claim that they were good buddies with
Good homies
Elijah,
with
and I'm
him?
like, dude, he was in first grade. What are you talking about?
How?
But no, Elijah, he went to St. Patrick's, and then he got the chance to.
I didn't even know he was from Iowa.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Cedar Rapids.
He got the chance to audition. He was in a Paula Abdul video, "Forever Your Girl."
Really?
Yeah. If you watch that, that's like his first big thing.
Wow,
And
dude.
and then he's in Back to the Future 2 as one of the kids in the 80s cafe.
Oh my
like
God.
those were his, and that was back when we were all super excited. We're like, oh my God, Elijah Wood, he's in Back to the Future. You got to see it. And then he started getting things like The Good Son and all that, and his career took off. And then Lord of the Rings, But yeah, Elijah's from here. I went to grade school with him, and I finally
crazy, dude.
I finally got to catch up with him.
Really?
Yeah, I went to the Tribeca Film Festival. Remember when they made the final season here, like a decade ago?
I'm not even sure.
It's like Sean Astin came to Cedar Rapids, and they made this whole movie about the Norway baseball team.
Wow,
And
man.
and the movie premiered at Tribeca, and I was working for the Gazette at the time, so I went there to cover the opening, and I saw that Elijah Wood had a movie that was in the festival also, and so I applied for press credentials to get in, and I got in, and it's so funny because I remember I talked to his press agent like before he arrived, because it was the whole like the classic red carpet deal in downtown New York City, and I mentioned that I was from Cedar Rapids, Iowa, which was Elijah's hometown. And I was there for the paper there, and then I remember that the movie stars started arriving, and and there was this huge line of press, and MTV was there, and all these others, and Elijah Wood's like working his way down the line, and I'm like, I'm never gonna get him because they started rounding people up to take him into the premiere, and I'm looking, there's still like 15 journalists between him and me, and they're wrapping everything up. And I'm like, well, it was a good try. And then his publicist comes and gets him and walks him past everybody in the line and brings him right up to me and says, and this is the Cedar Rapids Gazette. And Elijah Wood looks at me and he goes, are we allowed to swear on here?
Yeah, absolutely.
He looks at me and goes, get the fuck out of here. You're from Cedar Rapids? And I was
Wow,
like,
man.
yeah. And not only that, you and I went to St. Patrick's together. And Elijah Wood was, get the fuck out of here. You went to St. Patrick's? And I was like, yeah. And we're having this and you could see like these other people around us were looking at us
What
like,
the fuck's going on?
what? You know, and
That's right. He's my friend.
and so I got like a few quotes from him for the paper, and like we got a picture together, and he was super cool. And then I saw him again the next day at like it was just weird.
Since then, have you called him on the phone and hung out with him
I've
at all?
not seen Elijah since then. But yeah, it was a fun reunion.
That is such an
I'm sure he
interesting
still
story.
thinks about it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm serious. I mean, like he thinks.
Well,
of his
no,
hometown.
I have a friend who saw him at the Irish Democrat in Cedar Rapids. He
Wow.
apparently came back to town to visit relatives, and he was there, and she just looked over and saw him, and so he got a picture with her. And
Wow, dude.
Yeah.
I didn't even know he was from Iowa. That's crazy, man. It blows my mind how many celebrities come out of Iowa, man. But anyway, back to you. So out of college, once you graduated, you were still doing acting and film and all that. Did you ever have those Hollywood dreams of moving out to LA to pursue this acting career? Or was it-
yeah, absolutely. So here's a story that I usually tell though, is that I was doing professional theater. I was working at a theater in Indiana. And and at that time I had like big dreams of I'm going to go to LA as soon as I graduate from college. I'm going to pursue film, and I remember that we had like the actor van that had to go out to the theater from where we were staying every night, and there were a couple of actors that would ride with us that they were like, I think they were in their 40s. They'd clearly had been doing this for a long time, and they were very bitter and. Everything was negative with them. All they did was complain about the show, complain about their co-stars, complain about what the theater was doing, all that. And I looked at them and I was like, is this what happens to you? Like, I don't ever want to get to the point where I don't love this. Like, I don't want to be doing this just for money, which is clearly what these guys are doing. Or either that or they're bitter that they haven't made it big, that they've been doing this for 20 years and they're still working at some theater in Indiana. But I was like, I don't want that to happen to me. And so that was kind of like that. And then I also went to that same summer. We went to this event. We were in Evansville, Indiana, and they have a minor league baseball team there. And the stadium that they play in is the same stadium that they filmed A League of Their Own at, because it's one of the oldest, And so this is really cool, so we're here and we're watching this game, and I remember there was an artistic director of an Equity theater that was nearby that had also come, and this guy was the most, I mean, if you imagine like some of the really pompous, arrogant people that work in the industry, he was absolutely that guy.
Really? Just a big douchebag?
Yeah, but I was looking around, and so many of the people that I was working with that summer were just totally kissing up to this guy because they wanted to get
Success,
work. And I was like, I can't do that. I can't play this game.
Right.
Like I want to audition and get cast because I'm the right person for the role. I don't want to get cast because, I said all these nice things to this person who is a complete jerk just so that I can, and so it just, all those things kind of made me think, I don't want to move to LA. And so I kind of went the journalism route instead. And then years later, I did move to New York to kind of give it a shot. But what I've kind of discovered over the years is that, you can have a really good, really thriving artistic career without going to New York or LA. I mean, if you do it and it goes well for you, awesome. But, success is not determined by fame. Success is determined by doing projects that you're proud of.
Fulfillment almost.
And feeling like you're creatively fulfilled. And I've been an actor and a writer for over 30 years, and I've gotten to work on some stuff I'm really, really proud of. I got... I wrote the script for Amelia 2.0, and that film got made here, and it's like I didn't go to New York or LA to do that. That happened because I wrote a play that got performed at Theater Cedar Rapids and got attention, and it then got this other project, and it's like that all happened here. I didn't have to leave to do that, and I really enjoy that. And I think that there are so many really good artists here. There are actors, writers, directors. I love working with you guys. And I've found more work than I have time to do. just being involved in the artistic scene here in Iowa. And so I think that was like a big lesson that I learned was, it's not about fame, and you don't have to go to, I mean, I know people who have moved out to those places and they have not gotten to work on projects that are like the ones I've gotten to do here, because it's such a deeper pool out there, and it's so hard. You know, they're super excited if they get, if they get to be a background extra in this thing. And I'm like, dude, I mean, that's awesome for you, but but I'm getting great opportunities here, and I love it, and I'm really happy, and so
you were never like too concerned of like having that big break, almost, is kind of like what you're saying.
I mean, I think when you're younger, that's what you think about, but as you get older, you start to realize I don't need to do that in order to be happy.
That moment because I'm not too sure of the story. I know you've told it before, where it's Emilio 2.0?
Emilio 2.0, yeah.
Yeah, so when that happened, though, like, what were your thoughts? Like, oh my God, I just sold my script to this production company. Like, this is my big project. Like, what was that? What was that like for you? Did you sort of fantasize like the Hollywood dream then, almost?
I did. I got swept up in it. It was a very different project when we started versus what it became. It started as this very, small project. It was originally going to be, Adam Morton was on board as director, like pretty much from the beginning, because I had worked with Adam in like a couple of other projects. Yeah. And so when this became like a possibility, I really pushed for Adam as a director, because I was like, he's a great dude. And early on, Angela Billman was going to reprise her role as Amelia from the stage production, and they were going to have me play Carter. And that was kind of how it was originally pitched in all the early investor meetings. And then at some point, somewhere in there, it turned into something much, much bigger. They brought in people from LA, and next thing I knew, I was out. Like, that was out of the cast.
So did it start off as like a smaller budgeted film, and then all of a sudden it became what was it? Do you remember the budget for?
I mean, I don't know. I personally have never seen, but according to IMDb, the final budget was $1.2 million.
Jeez, dude, that's insane.
And the thing is that when that happens, it becomes a much, much bigger thing with a lot of people who have a stake in it, and not everyone who has a stake in it is there for the artistic reasons.
Right.
They're there
business side.
Yeah, and that was difficult for me to reconcile, because that wasn't why I did it, and so I have to this day like conflicting feelings about it, because I'm proud of the fact that the movie got made, and it was a great opportunity.
Because you still get the writing credit for it, though, right?
I do. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It was a great opportunity for a lot of people here in Iowa. One of the things that we were really excited about is it was one of the larger projects to happen after the whole Iowa film tax thing, because it was so difficult to get movies here after that fell apart. So the fact that this was like a bigger project, and it was bringing actors like like Ed Begley Jr. here and all that, it was like, oh, maybe this is gonna get things. So that part of it, that was all really exciting. But at the same time, any writer will understand this. It's your baby. And as other people start messing with your baby, and they maybe don't have your baby's best interests in heart, it's very, very difficult to watch that happen. It's very, very difficult to see a scene getting filmed that was not what you wrote, and you find out there that your stuff got changed,
like the screening almost, or were you able to be there during production?
No, I was asked to not be on set.
Wow,
they said that it would make it easier for everyone there if the writer wasn't there, and okay, fine. So I wasn't. There were a number of things that were a surprise to me when I finally saw the movie, and it was like, okay, but that's the thing, and I think that at the time that was really difficult for me. But
where were you when you what screening was it when you saw it for the first time and you were like, whoa, shit?
Yeah, was it a private or a public screening?
The very first time I saw it was a private one.
Okay.
Adam invited me over to see it, and I watched it.
And it was just you and him?
It was him and me, and my wife came, and my friend Tim, and there were I think there were maybe 6 or 7 people there, and at that point the movie was at kind of a rough cut stage, and Adam brought us over to just see it and if there was anything, and it was you know, and so yeah, and as I watched it, I was like, oh, okay, that's different. That's also, oh, it didn't write that. That's, you know, and you have to sit there and be like, okay, but you know, it's a collaborative, you know, film's a collaborative
right?
medium.
Yeah,
and
well,
you have to
to
understand that, you know, it's when you hand it over, it's not yours anymore.
Well, that, and then at that scale, like there's so many people touching that script. You know
Exactly.
what I'm saying? And
yeah,
like,
yeah, and I think that was hard for me to understand at the time. But you know, with years of looking back on it, I'm like, no, I get it. You know, you know, Adam and I have had conversations about it since, and you know, it was something that it was a project that grew really, really big, and it did a lot of really good things, and yeah, it's. I feel like the stage play is my vision. The film is a collaborative vision of a whole bunch of other people, and you know, and so yeah, it took me a while to make my peace with that, but I have. You know, and Adam and I were on good terms now. And
so how did you go about, were you like actively pitching that to companies, or did some executive producer kind of come to your play one day and like wanted to make it a movie? How did you get that even in front of people who could make this film?
It started when we had a few producers who had seen the play at Theater Cedar Rapids and thought that it could be something bigger, and from there put together an investment package and started having meetings with local business leaders, people just basically saying, you know, this would be really, really good for Cedar Rapids if we could get this movie made. And at some point in there, I'm not sure how, but somewhere in there, there were a lot of folks from LA who got attached to it. I think that happened through Adam. That didn't happen through me. And so once that connection got made, it went from being this very small film that we wanted to do in Iowa to this much, much larger project that was still going to happen in Iowa, but not the way that we had originally envisioned.
Right.
You know, and it's I think it was a really good learning experience for everybody involved. I imagine Adam would probably say the same thing. I think he learned a lot. I learned a lot. You know, Angela as lead actress learned a lot. Everybody learned a great deal. And one of the things that I came away from it learning was, wow, I don't know nearly as much about the film industry as I thought I did. And so if anything, that whole experience kind of inspired me to become a lot more knowledgeable about how things work, and just to make sure that you know I would always, any project from here on out, I would approach with you know, less of like the starry-eyed, oh my God, this is my big break thing,
or like
and
the
more,
big what if, like,
yeah,
you know.
and more of the, okay, let's look at this. Is this right? What need, you know, having a better understanding, a better knowledge.
Would you maybe start writing script and like, if you were to pitch something in the future, again, something that would be a little less personal, like writing something like, hey, I want to make this into something big, but mentally being okay knowing that probably half of it will be changed?
Oh, absolutely. And I think that was part of the problem. You know, the Summerland Project / Amelia 2.0 was one of the most personal scripts I'd ever written. It was really, really dear to me. I think that if I had been commissioned to write, you know, a screwball comedy about these guys doing something, and then it got changed like crazy, I'd be like, that's fine. It's part of the process. It's all good. But it was like, this is like,
it's your baby.
This is my baby. Man. This is really special to me. Please don't change that thing. Oh, they changed that thing.
And that thing, and that
thing, and that thing. You know, and again, I'm not saying this like looking for pity. You know, it was a learning experience for me as a writer to understand, okay, when you're making a movie at this level, it's not yours anymore.
No, I think that's very important for people listening.
It's very,
right
very
now,
important because
like, I think I would be in that same boat, like writing something somebody really likes. Oh, I want to make this into a movie, and I'd be blown away. Like, people need to know that can happen.
And I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, you can do it at a smaller scale and you'll have a lot more control, but you're also not going to have access to the resources. Or you can go bigger and you get those resources and you get like the bigger name actors, but now all of a sudden you've got to be ready to make a lot of concessions and understand that there are a lot more people involved in this and there's a lot more at stake than just your personal artistic vision. You know?
So since that moment, have you tried to write any more scripts that you try to market out or pitch to people to get it made, or have you just sort of went back to like writing stage plays, or like what has your writing career been like since that moment?
Weirdly enough, yeah, I mean, I've written other scripts since then. And I haven't like aggressively pursued like getting another feature made.
Well, Summerlin has a sequel out, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah, we did a play called Aurora.
Yeah.
That was done at Theater Cedar Rapids, and it was a follow up to the story that both the play, The Summerlin Project, and the movie Amelia 2.0 told. And it was actually kind of tricky because I tried to write it in such a way that even though it was a follow-up to the play, it still worked with the movie because the movie changed a lot of stuff. And I was like, can I make it so that if somebody sees the movie, this will
They'll
still make
understand,
sense?
sort of.
And I think that for the most part it did. But actually, one of the things that has been a surprising road I did not expect to go down is that I've started making ridiculous like short videos for YouTube that I've written. I mean, you know, I wrote this when the pandemic started. I wrote this really stupid little short film. Actually, it was Dylan's fault. Dylan started this pandemic film festival.
Yeah,
whereas like
you're
supposed to make a movie completely using a cell phone, you know, and you couldn't use like a really nice camera. You had to use a phone, and you
With
had
only the people in your house.
Yep, only could film with people in your house, and so I did this movie called 2020 Vision, where it was like, well, I'm the only actor available. How can I do something where I play both roles? And it was this weird time travel thing, and that stupid movie wound up like.
That's what I was gonna ask. Didn't that go and win a couple awards at IMPA?
Yeah, like legit, like not, you know, it was.
Well,
made
it's
for a
so
dumb-
well edited, man, and it was also very well written. It was just such a good short film, man. And then not only that, did you go to make that, you went on to make your very viral video.
Made it to the news.
Dumpster fire, and then you ended up making 3 parts to that, right?
Yeah, and that's also Dylan's fault because that was my entry for week 2 of the cell phone thing, and that was And again, it was like, well, what do I do to follow up the dumb time travel thing? You know, and I thought, well, I could do. There was somebody who had jokingly suggested that somebody should update "We Didn't Start the Fire" for 2020, and they wrote like a fake verse for it, and I looked at that and I was like, I could do the whole song. And I just out of way, I was like, can I do it? I wrote like some lyrics, and I was like, okay, let's see if we can get it done. And I, made the video. And again, it was just supposed to be like a goofy thing. And I submitted it. And then it was like, it's been out for, I don't know, maybe a week or two. Actually, no, longer. Cause it got like a few thousand views.
Right. Yeah.
When it first came out, and it was like, okay, that's fun. Everybody did that. Haha. And then like about 2 or 3 months went by. And then all of a sudden, I wake up one day and I look and I get like a notification from YouTube that I've got like 100,000 views last night on this, and I'm like, what? And
do you have any idea of how that happened? Was it shared on Reddit or forums or anything like that?
Well, I actually was just talking to somebody the other night where they came up and said, it was really weird. I was these people that work in my office, and he works virtually with some nationwide company. I don't know who they are, but he was saying that they were forwarding around this video.
Wow.
Of this "We Didn't Start the Fire" parody, and he was like, "Oh, okay." And then he opened it and he was like, "Is that Rob?" And he was like, "Yeah, it's really weird. Like these people from this other company that don't know you, they were all forwarding it around." And so I don't know how that happened. I don't know why it got picked up, but then once it did, then people were like, "You have to update it." And so I wound up making a part 2 and a part 3, and I've had people saying, "Oh, you need to make one for 2021." And
That's
I'm
what
like,
I was going to ask.
I'm
you.
like, no. That song remains in 2020 along with my dreams and my happiness. They all stay back in 2020. So, and partially because, we tried to make it as funny and ridiculous as possible, because 2020 was a ridiculous year. There were just so many bizarre things that happened.
Yeah.
Whereas 2021's just been really depressing.
Yeah.
And I, when people have said, "Hey, make an update of that song for 2021," I'm like, "Okay, tell me one thing about 2021 that's funny." And they're
Not a
like,
lot.
"Oh," and I'm like, "Yeah."
Just the whole toilet paper crisis is material. Right
I know,
there.
that was gold.
Yeah,
murder hornets and
I
I
actually
forgot about
bought toilet paper in an alleyway. Like, no joke. Somebody was on Facebook like selling toilet paper, and they told me to meet them in an alley, and I got it.
That's how people get murdered.
Well, I needed toilet paper, okay?
That's so crazy that was a thing, man. And like to even think about it and remember that, it feels like it's out of a movie. To know that was even a thing that happened in the real world. Yeah, that's crazy. But anyway, so after you got that viral video, did you think of, oh man, I think I'm gonna try to pursue the YouTube route and try to become a content creator? Was that something that you kind of toyed with?
I toyed with, not like seriously. I mean, if you go on my channel, I still haven't even updated like the profile picture on YouTube. In fact, somebody made a comment on that. They were like, "This is the first YouTube channel I've ever seen that has like 5,000 subscribers and doesn't even have a profile picture." And I'm like, "Well, yeah, because this wasn't really supposed to happen." It
wasn't meant to happen, yeah.
You know, I started when I made the Ragbri video. That was part of a I call it the web series that I update when I have time, which is called Watch This Idiot.
Yeah.
You know, the Ragbri one was an episode of that, and I did one about like building a model car when there's absolutely no kit for it. And actually, I did like 2 weeks after Ragbri, because this was really smart, I decided, hey, I just finished Ragbri. Let's enter a 12-hour-long bike race on the Road America racetrack. So I went and I did that. Started at 7 o'clock at night and went until 7 in the morning.
You did it all in one day?
Yeah, it was a 12-hour race.
Oh my
I rode
God,
138 miles in the course of that race. And I did the same thing. I loaded up my cameras and I filmed it all. But I've been so crazy busy since then that I haven't had a chance to edit it all together. But like that's the next episode of Watch This Idiot, because it's going to be Watch This Idiot ride for 12 hours. Because I enjoy like making fun of myself. And I feel like if I enjoy it, maybe other people will also enjoy making fun of me.
Well, yeah, man. Yeah, they're so well edited and so put together. When did you sort of start getting into filming stuff yourself? Like, because you also are pretty good at doing video, man, and you know the settings of that. Like, what made you want to learn to become good at doing video work as well?
Weird happy accident. I was working for Theater Cedar Rapids as the marketing and communications director, and right after the flood of '08, we were talking, and Casey Prince, the executive director at TCR, was like, it would really help if we could make like videos about what's going on, but we can't afford to hire somebody to do that. And I was like, well, I could try to figure it out if you buy me a camera. And so TCR got it was like a Canon HV30, it's like the mini DV shooting ones that, because this was 2008 and HD was like still a pretty new thing.
Right,
and it was really exciting. And so I started making promo videos for the theater, and, everything was trial and error. The first one that I made, it was like almost 10 minutes long, which is insane for an online promo video, but you had to learn. And the thing is, over the years, I kept making these things, and I never took a class in video editing or anything like that. Everything was just like figured out.
Yeah.
And and the more that I did it, the more I was like, oh, so this setting will change this, and then after a while, I was like, forget camcorders, let's start shooting on DSLRs. And then once I did that, I was like, oh, and that's how and it helped that I had been a photographer for a while, so I was like, oh, okay, so everything that I know about photography, I can translate this to as far as exposure.
ISO, exposure.
And so like I go back and I look at some of the videos that I have made, and some of the early ones, and I'm sure you'll understand this. Some of the early ones, I'm like, oh, that's so bad, that's so terrible, and I'm so embarrassed that that's even still online. But at the same time, I'm also like, but I had to do that in order to learn,
to get where you're at today.
And I've moved into other jobs where video became a component of it, and eventually I got to the point where I was like, I've gotten pretty good with shooting and with editing, and it was weird because when the pandemic happened, it kind of brought all those skills together, where it's like, oh, I can't work with anybody. If I'm going to make something, I've got to make it completely myself. And I was like, well, I know how to edit, I know how to shoot, I can act, I can do pretty much all of that stuff.
Do everything.
And so that's wound up.
So then have you ever kind of toyed with the idea, and I don't know if you have before, I know you've done your own short films and stuff, but have you ever tried to be like your own DP for a short film that you wrote and try to direct it and take it that route? Like, have you ever been a DP on other people's short films yet?
No.
Or is that not really something you...
Well, and I've had a few people invite me to, and it's more like time. I am one of those people that there are so many things that I enjoy doing and that I want to do, and there's only so many hours in the day. I've always said I don't understand it when people say I'm bored. I don't understand those words because from where I'm sitting, I'm like, I never have time to do all the stuff I want to do.
Well, you're about to not have a whole lot of
Well, yeah,
time
and
that
then-
I want to talk about.
Wes actually brings that up here. Wes Worthing said, hi, Rob. Do you prefer stage or film acting and screenwriting versus playwriting? Also, you're going to be a stellar dad, my man.
Say it. Tell everybody. Not everybody knows you.
Yeah. Which question do you want me to answer first?
Go ahead and do the film acting one, or
Okay.
the stage or film acting, that one.
They're anybody who's done both will tell you they're very different disciplines. Film is really fun because it's you get plunged into situations that obviously feel a lot more real than on stage, because you're shooting in an actual location rather than on a stage with a scenery, and it's a different style.
Yeah,
it's a lot more subdued, a lot more it's not nearly as big as theater, but when you're in theater you get the response of an audience, and that is something that you can't
compare
replace.
almost.
It's in fact when we were watching the web series, and we were watching that last episode where the scene where we were doing the police station, and I like come in and, and I'm like, what did you do? There's a fun energy to that scene, because when we were shooting it, you had all of the
executive producers.
Yeah, they were all there watching. And
Yeah.
so unlike any other scene in the entire web series, this scene had an audience, and I kind of like worked off of that, because I could feel that they were there, and I started like playing to that.
Yeah.
And and as a result, the scene got like even more crazy and manic, because I could feel like there's just even though they weren't they were being quiet, there's an energy that's in the room when there's other people, and
when they're smiling and stuff like that, you can tell that they're enjoying it.
The best part about film too is like you and I could have a very emotional scene and not have to wear pants, and nobody would know.
Well, you can do that on stage too.
But then everybody would know we're not wearing pants.
Well, sometimes that makes it more fun.
That's true. All right.
And then the writing question. Again, when you're writing for the stage, you have to be thinking, okay, can this work?
Will it translate?
Yeah. Will this translate to if you're writing. And I a lot of times I will hear friends of mine who teach playwriting say this. They'll say, I can immediately tell, like a young student in play, because they're basically writing film scripts and then try to make them work on stage. And so they have scenes that are 4 or 5 lines, and they put like ridiculous demands on scenic directors because they want to go from this scene to this scene and then back to, and it's like, you have to understand the theater, you can write a dialogue scene that goes on for 10 minutes on stage, and that works. If you write that for film, oh man, that's going to be a long scene to film, and it's going to be really difficult to film it in a way that's interesting rather than just two people sitting there talking. So it's different styles, and I think it depends on what the project is, really. If it's ironically, the Summerland project, one of the things that was exciting to me about it was that it was going to be a science fiction project which is you don't see on stage very often. And I was like, I know how to make this work on stage. I'm super excited to do this. And so I we did the original production, and I had people ask me, so are you going to turn it into a film? And I was like, I don't want to turn it into a film, because I love the fact that this story works on stage. And then it turned into a film. So, but that was the original thing that appealed to me, was I think this story can work on stage in a set that doesn't really change. And yet it's still going to be science fiction, and that's cool. So yeah, I think it just depends on the project. If it's a project that works on stage, heck yeah. And if it's a project that should be filmed, okay. And I think it's good for all writers to know that. You don't want to force a film to be a play, and you don't want to force a play to be a film. In your heart, you should know where it feels like it belongs.
Yeah. Well, yeah, man, that was very well answered. Now, give us the deets, man. What is it like to be an up-and-coming dad, man? Are you nervous? Are you excited? It's definitely a new journey for you. What has the process been like?
Yeah, I'm nervous, and yeah, I'm exden. And
have you had morning sickness yet?
He's not the one pregnant.
I think that this is going to be a wild adventure, and it's one that I waited for a long time on, and that honestly, if you had asked me a decade ago, I probably would have told you, no, it's not not going to happen. And in fact, when my wife and I first got together, that was actually,
one of your conversation bits.
Yeah, we had that conversation very early on, and I was like, I don't really have any, overwhelming urge to be a dad. I'm going to be totally fine if I live my whole life without being a father. And she was like, okay. And then we kind of revisited it. We revisited it and realized, because both of us were getting to the age where it's like, well, if we're going to do this, we got to do it. Yeah. And we talked about it, and it was something that Megan really wanted. But she was really cool. She was like, but you were very clear when we got together that this was not something you felt like an overwhelming urge to do. And if that's still where you are, I'll totally respect that. And I thought about it, and I was like, I actually think I'm at a point in my life where this would be a cool thing to do. I don't think that would have been true a decade ago, because I was so busy with so many things. I was very busy with, every waking moment that I could get that I wasn't at my job. I was either writing or I was acting. I was doing something, and it would have been very, very difficult for me at that point in my life to have made room for a child, and I don't think I would have wanted to do that.
Well, I mean, my God, dude, I think the first time I met you, I was just amazed by how much shit you were doing, because I can't remember our first project. I think it was Bedside or something like that. I just remember you telling me all this stuff that the day you came to set, you were actually just filming something before then. It's you've always kind of had this big workload of projects.
Yeah.
Are you almost kind of nervous to not have that anymore and just no, you're excited?
No. I think that I've reached a point where I'm like, I think I was always driven by this constant need to prove myself, to prove that I was an actor, or to prove that I was a writer, and I had to show everybody I could do it. And I think I finally reached a point where I was like, you know what? I still want to do it, but I don't feel this urge to make it take up every waking moment of my life anymore. I think that and because I have found so many other interests like filmmaking and writing and photography and shooting and all these other things, it's like I'm kind of tired of putting all those other things to the side so that I can constantly be working as an actor. There's other stuff I would like to do.
Yeah.
I can already foresee it happening, though, because you are such a creative individual. I can see you taking pictures and videos of your kid and documenting him growing up. The art is never going to go away.
Oh, I'm already planning an episode of Watch This Idiot called Watch This Idiot Become a Dad.
Oh, there you go, man. That's awesome.
And it's gonna become viral. Yeah. But the point is dude, you're gonna be a fantastic dad, and it's gonna be an amazing, beautiful journey watching you become a dad. He's gonna be a lucky kid.
It's funny. I was thinking about when I knew I was going to be coming on the show, and I was like, I've got to pick Dylan's brain because, Dylan, you have been a very prolific actor in the area in recent years, and yet you are a dad. And so you have found a way to make that balance work for you. And so I'm curious how.
He's like, I'm glad you perceive it that way.
Okay, it looks like you're making that balance work for you.
Well, I've definitely had to cut back a lot, but I just had to pick and choose. Before I was a dad, I did everything that was offered to me. Now I just kind of pick and choose, if it's something I really want to do, I'll find a way to make it work. If it's something that isn't really up my alley, I just I'll have to respectfully deny it. But being a dad, your kid comes first, of course. And then I know I'm going to get emotional talking about it, but I love my son to death. And I'm just so excited for you to become a dad because it changes your life. It's just us as humans, when you hold your son for the first time. You got a name picked out?
I do.
What's his name?
I'm not telling.
It's a secret. Do you know the gender already? Or
yes.
No?
Yeah. Okay. It's gonna be a little dude.
That's
unless
awesome, man.
Unless he tells us otherwise.
There you go. That's beautiful.
But yeah, for the time being, as far as we know, he's a dude.
Are you allowed to tell us the due date?
So it's technically April 1st, but I constantly, when the doctor told us that, I was like, you got to give us a different date because no one's going to believe that. If we tell them it's April 1st, everyone's going to be like, oh, sure, you have a kid coming. Especially because it's me. I've had so many people that are like, what, you're going to be a dad? What? And so if I'm on top of that, I'm like, yeah, it's due April 1st. They're gonna be like, oh, you're a jerk. I'll be like, no, it's really happening.
It's real, man. You'll see it.
My son's birthday is April 22nd. Dude, we gotta have our little kiddos do a movie together.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I remember it was like a couple of months ago. Didn't you like make a movie with your kid? It was like a Star Wars thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and you were like you shot it on your phone.
Hunting
or something like
Brothers.
That?
Yeah, it's something.
Yeah. Hunting Brothers. Yes, that's right.
Yeah, it was him and his brother. They yeah, it was just something I thought. But that was fun.
So is this Melly? Is that right? Melly X? She says, I've known Rob for over 20 years. He will be an amazing father. Aww. And then it says, name him Atlas. Winky face.
Name him Atlas.
Do you know who that is?
No, that's my friend. That's my friend Mel. She's actually a radio DJ out of Vegas.
Oh, sweet.
And yeah, she's been my friend for a really long time.
That's crazy.
It's a reference to so many years ago. I co-wrote a book about the Columbine shootings,
right? Yeah.
With my friend Brooks, who survived them, and Brooks was at that time he was a big proponent of the book Atlas Shrugged. And so that was like a big thing for him, and he mentioned it a few times in the book. And so I'd never even heard of the Ayn Rand or Atlas Shrugged before I met Brooks and worked with him. And so I learned about that book as I was working with Brooks on the interviews. And so I remember, and I don't think Mel knew it either. And so I was like, I'm learning it too. Mel actually met up with us when we were doing publicity for the book in New York. That was actually the first time we met in person. And the funny thing is, I haven't seen her in person since then.
Wow, so you just kind of communicated.
But we've stayed in touch
online.
Online for like 20 years. It's wild.
Well, and you have this crazy news clip about that book, right? Didn't you post that recently? Weren't you on?
Oh yeah, with Connie Chung.
Yeah.
We were in New York.
That was really cool, man, to see you on TV, dude.
Yeah, and a lot younger. Yeah, it was fun. It was.
Oh, well, you can keep talking. She just got to change the battery.
Oh, gotcha. Can you still hear us?
Yes.
Okay.
Audio is still there.
And let me rephrase that, because fun is not the right word for it.
Yes.
But it was an incredible experience to have. To be working it was the first time that I had been to New York very briefly before that, but it was the first time we really experienced the city. Being on a show like Connie Chung. We also were on Donahue, but we got bumped because we were actually supposed to be on Bill O'Reilly, like a few others, and we got bumped off of all of them because it was the same day that the sniper in Washington D.C. was like really big news, and so they were like following. So like we were supposed to be on all these other shows, but the only one that wound up really happening was Connie Chung because of that's the news cycle for you. But as a result, we were hanging out in the city, and and that project. We've been talking about like the acting side, but that was really like one of the biggest writing projects I worked on before Amelia 2.0, and was very much like a byproduct of like the journalism side of my career, and I really I learned a lot from that. And Brooks and I have stayed in touch. Brooks is still a good friend to this day. So
does he still write? Is he still a writer?
He is. And in fact, the universe is such a weird place. Brooks wound up going to work for first he went to work for LucasArts. And
my God, dude.
Yeah, and so I went out to visit him in San Francisco when he was there, and I got to like visit I got to go out to where they make Star Wars. It was really cool. And then a couple years later, Brooks got hired by James Cameron to work.
What?
He got hired to work at Lightstorm Entertainment, and as the director of digital development. He was like working on the Avatar video games. And,
oh my God!
And his desk, like his office, was down the hall from James Cameron's office. And I went to visit him there, and while I was there, he was like, "You want to see something really cool?" I was like, "Yes, I do." And so he led me out the doors. Then we go outside. We go to another building. We go through like two sets of security doors, and we walk into this big. We walk into this big sound stage that they had done a lot of the motion capture for Avatar on. But now, because James Cameron was he was in New Zealand at the time, he was working on the scripts for the new Avatar films. So they were using this soundstage to store James Cameron's personal collection of film props. And so there's the 50-foot Titanic model in there. They've got the original Alien Queen. There was a power loader, and I was like, "Is that like a replica?" And he's like, "No, that's actually Sigourney
Was it
Weaver's
blocked
power
off
loader."
at all, or were you able to get up close to it?
Get right up to it.
Wow.
Yeah, it was because it wasn't open to the public. It was basically if you were an employee, you could see it. Wow. But otherwise, and I took all these. I've got them all on Facebook, but I took a bunch of photos,
Wow,
and
dude,
it was
that's amazing.
It was wild seeing all that. But yeah, it's so weird that Brooks went from the two of us making a book about Columbine to him working for Lightstorm. And
is that what he still does today?
Now he got really heavily involved in the VR world.
Oh,
and,
dude.
yeah, I mean Brooks is
VR.
a genius.
What Michael and I have been addicted to is the Quest.
Have you tried VR?
Have I tried? Mm-hmm. Dude, I
Do you own an Oculus Quest?
Oh yeah, I've got a Rift actually.
Oh, I mean, if you want an online game sometime.
Oh heck yeah!
Yeah, dude, that's
actually me and a few friends of mine. We get together and we do
chat,
we do Rec Room and stuff like that.
Really?
So, yeah.
Dude, come on, you gotta invite me one day, man. I got no buddies to play VR with. So
What? Oh,
hey, I'm
this
your
is
buddy.
happening. This is
We
happening.
VR.
Anybody who is watching this,
Come play VR.
Come play VR. Hunt for Mad Reindeer on Oculus, and you will find me.
Oh, dude, I will 100% take you up on that offer. Before we end here, we do have a viewer request, or not viewer request, a question from Damien. He wanted to know, because I know you are so good at this, being able to look at a script and remember all of that dialogue. How do you do that? Was that just through years of kind of training, or was that just something that you have photographic memory? Like, what do you do?
I have always found that it's easier for me to learn by ear than by like I could stare at a script for hours trying to memorize it, and it's still going to be tough. But if we just sit there and do a scene a few times, my brain picks it up, and I'm like, oh, okay. And I think part of that is because you really have to focus on with a script what it is you're saying. If you understand what your character is communicating, then the lines just naturally fall into place. If you come in and you're like, I know that my character wants this thing, then the lines, and sometimes what will happen early in rehearsals is you'll start paraphrasing. Because it's like, I know what I'm supposed to say here. I don't know the exact wording, but I know the point I'm supposed to make. And so a lot of times for me, when I'm learning a script, that's what I'll do, is that I'll try to go without the script and just communicate, roughly what I know I'm supposed to say. And then once I do that, then I'll go back and look at the script again and be like, oh, that's where I'm making a mistake. I have to actually word it this way. There's actually something in the movie Reservoir Dogs that I actually think is brilliant. It's the part where Tim Roth's character he's going to go undercover, and he's given this script. It's like a monologue, and he's like, I got to memorize all this. And they're like, no. You think about it like telling a joke. Somebody tells you your joke one time. You're not going to remember word for word exactly what they said, but you get it. You get all the important points. You get the beats, and you can tell that joke to someone else. It's like learning a script is the same way. You're learning essentially the important stuff that you have to say, and what is the point. To communicate that story. Yeah. And so, internalize that, understand what it is you're supposed to say, and then go back and look at the script again and be like, oh, okay, fix this wording here and fix this, and then go back and do it again. I don't know if that works for everybody, but that's always worked for me. That I learn what I am saying generally, and then I fix it up until eventually I get to where I'm word.
Now, does that get hard though when you're doing 6 projects?
Depends on how large they are.
Okay.
I worked on Sunday in the Park with George, and I didn't work on anything else while I did that, because that was one of there was just so much material to learn and to understand. But when you're working on a project where you might have you're shooting a film over a weekend because you're in 2 scenes. I can learn those the night before. In fact, sometimes I can, if you give me a script an hour before the scene, I can learn it day of.
That's crazy.
If I have to. But yeah, if it's like a really big thing, one of those things where you're in every scene and stuff like that, it takes more time and it's harder to do other things at the same time.
Yeah. So there you go, Damon. Refer back to this so you can learn how to do it.
Tell a joke, Damien.
Tell a joke. And you're good at that, I think.
Tell a joke and then go back and make sure you're telling it the right way.
There you go. And then Mel says, ask him about the Mad Reindeer comic. You have a comic book?
I do.
What?
I do. Yes. I wrote a graphic novel called Mad Reindeer, and it's all about an angry half-human, half-reindeer mutant who runs around in the woods with a machine gun killing hunters.
That is awesome.
It's a children's book.
Okay.
It's something that I actually started drawing that.
You illustrated it?
Yeah.
Wow, man.
I wrote I started doing that when I was in high school, and then I mentioned before that once I really got into acting, it kind of overwhelmed everything else. But I wound up like coming back to it and making a graphic novel of it in 2004. And actually that is sort of like, it's still on my list of, I really want to start, I'm trying to learn animation.
Oh, dude, same.
And my thought is, I've always believed that like the characters of Mad Reindeer would work really, really well as an animated series.
Are you trying to learn 3D or 2D?
2D.
Okay. See, I'm more in the world of 3D because I can't draw for shit. So I feel like my best shot at animating is through 3D models and kind of manipulating them through that way.
Well, they're doing really cool stuff with motion capture now.
Yeah, I know.
And I'm like, that's
what I want to get into, man. At least because I know it's a very expensive hobby to get into, but I'm trying to, because I know VR, especially with the Oculus, they have motion tracking in there.
Yep.
I want to try to figure out a way, man, because 3D animation is sort of like what I want to try to pursue kind of going forward, just because I love animation. Mm-hmm. And I would just love to be able to do some mocap.
You guys
stuff.
need any voice actors if you get this animation thing going? I've been dying to get into voice acting.
Yeah.
I may take you up on that. If I get things going, of course, I say this right before I'm about to have a kid,
right?
I will have no time, but
literally.
But yeah, I
just throw him over your shoulder, pop his back a little.
On the other hand, if I did learn animation, that'd be a really fun thing to work with my kid on. If I got to the point where I was able to make animated characters work really well, we could make something, and I'll just be like, okay, now you go hang it with mom while daddy makes the angry
just give me an hour.
The angry mutant reindeer cartoon where there's blood everywhere.
That's so cool, man. That's so cool. I had no idea that you did that stuff, man. So as we wrap up here, what are sort of some of the projects that you have coming out, and where can people find you if they enjoyed this episode and they want to watch more stuff that we talked about tonight?
I mentioned my YouTube channel is Mad Reindeer, and now you know why it's called Mad Reindeer.
I do, yeah. I always wondered why it was called that.
That's where Mad Reindeer comes from. Yeah, it comes from my stupid graphic novel.
Is that out somewhere, for people to look at?
It is. I still have copies of it. You can't order it anymore.
Oh, okay.
But if somebody comes to me and is like, I really want Mad Reindeer,
I really want Mad Reindeer.
I will
wrap it up and give it to me for a Christmas present.
Dude,
I would love that. I love graphic novels.
Absolutely, yes.
I love graphic novels.
I've got a big stack of them.
Oh, dude.
I never got rid of.
Give me one. I love graphic novels.
It's extremely violent. I'm just gonna
real quick. Have you seen Sweet Tooth?
Sweet Tooth, no.
So that's a really good graphic novel that turned into a Netflix series. Anyway, it's a phenomenal show. But anyway.
Okay.
Continue with how people find it.
I've got a number of projects there, and then a lot of films that I've worked on, you can find them on YouTube. Amelia 2.0 is on Amazon Prime and a few other places. And
you have something coming out with Michael James Menard.
I do, yeah. I got to work with Michael on a movie last year, and technically a little bit this year too, called All Roads End.
Okay.
And it's like this really, it's kind of this cool. It's hard to even talk too much about what it's about because it's very much a movie that unfolds as it goes along.
Okay.
I'll basically say that my character is clearly. Mainly these two guys, and one of them is very upset with the other one for reasons that, as the film unfolds, you understand what it is, and that was kind of fun to do because it was a very angry and bitter character, which I actually did, I think, right after I did. Or no, it was right before I did this.
Oh,
That's
really?
why it was so funny, was that I did this angry, brooding thing.
And then you gotta go
and then
be
I
funny.
shaved the beard off and hung out with you guys and did this ridiculous web series. And it was fun to go
Swap.
between those two worlds.
Yeah, okay.
But it was great. It was in Dubuque. I'd never made, sorry, what am I saying? Dubuque. It was in Cedar Falls, Waterloo.
Okay.
And And so we got to, and they were working with Bus Stop Productions,
Yes.
and I've seen a rough cut of it, and it's a really, really well shot movie.
yeah.
This is
Everything
from
that
the
I've
same
seen-
filmmaker that made The Entity. And
Yeah,
we
everything I've
showed
seen
that
him
at our
make,
Halloween
man.
Film Festival,
So
so everybody
I
knows.
think-
so it's gonna be a really good film.
Oh,
when
yeah.
it comes
Yeah,
out.
yeah, and in fact, Michael was saying he's been really, really busy with other projects, and those have kind of taken. But he's like next up is going to be All
one?
Roads End, and so I think like in the spring is when
That's gonna
it's
get
going to
kinda
be really
released.
circulating.
That's awesome.
So I've got that. That was really fun to work on, and I'm kind of coming off of a tear of getting a bunch of projects in because I feel like I'm getting them all in before
You take a seasonal break.
Yeah, the little
Seasonal
short
break of-
the
yeah.
short guy arrives. But I mean, I made a movie. It was like a small part in a movie in Marshalltown, like a feature they were shooting there called
cool.
Little Johnny Jewel.
Oh, okay.
And then I got to work on Matt Tribble's film Remote. I made Dead Air with Matt Tribble.
I love Dead Air. That's the first thing I ever seen you do, man.
Yeah, and so I was super excited to. It was like a smaller part. But it was a chance to work with them again, and that was really fun. And Dylan and I were both in a movie, Leaving Eden, that Joseph, who worked on our web series, that he directed, and I think he was saying that he's aiming for that to come out in the spring.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, he's finishing up. He said he had like a pickup shot he still needed to do, but otherwise it was good to go. And then actually tomorrow I'm driving to Nebraska, making a. I'm gonna be driving to Nebraska tomorrow. Shooting a movie with Allie Boyd Saturday and Sunday. Allie was somebody that I met. I made a movie called To Live Again. Last year.
Yeah, with Michael White, right?
And Allie was like the cinematographer on that. But she's a genius.
Oh, really?
And there are not many people that I would drive to Nebraska for a film for, but when Allie asked me, I was like, I will come and do that because
That's not your first time though, right? To Live Again, was that also in Nebraska?
It was.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was a tricky film to make because we started it before the pandemic, and then the pandemic happened, and then we finished it during, and so we had to masking and all that, and that was a tricky experience, navigating all of that. But in the course of doing it, it was a full length feature, and so I got to work for quite a while with all those folks, which is how I met Allie, and I'm excited to go there and work with her again. And then I've got one other thing coming up in December. There's a filmmaker who I've not worked with before, but he's making a short film called Mute. Okay. And it's based on the Stephen King short story of the same name. Yep. And Michael Wurzer is his name, and I've not like met
Michaels,
him.
man.
Yeah, a lot of Michaels,
so many
dude.
Michaels,
There's so
dude.
many
Jeez.
Michaels in filmmaking. I don't know.
Yeah, you're not wrong, man.
Yeah, and kind of like more like out in the distant future. You guys know Kevin Isaacson.
Oh yeah, I love Kevin. Dude.
Yeah, there's a feature film that Kevin's been trying to get funding for.
Is
for
that
a while.
When the Music Fades?
When the
or
music
something?
fades, yeah. And if that
I hope that happens.
I really do too. If that goes forward, I would be involved in that. But yeah,
would you be the lead in that?
I would.
Yeah.
Oh,
Hey, don't
dude.
forget to flip this over.
That's-
Got another huge list of things coming up. No, I'm joking. So much, man.
I did. I was like, I'm gonna forget something if I don't write it down. But yeah, so it's just a busy couple of.
Well, that's awesome, man. Like he's just told me a little bit about that film, and it seems super interesting. And
Yeah.
I hope it gets made. Man.
I read the script. I mean, and it's funny because he sent me the script like over a year ago.
Yeah.
And I read it then, and I thought it was good. And then after I auditioned, he sent me the updated version of the script, and it's come so far. It's always really exciting when writers continue to like sharpen and hone a script and get it to where it needs to be. Because if you haven't seen it for a while and then you come back and look at it, you're like, wow, this is, I don't remember.
Different world.
Yeah. Like there's some really cool new details here and like this thing that didn't really work before, now it totally works. So yeah, it's exciting. I really
So it's
hope.
almost like a blessing when you get more time to kind of mess with the script because you get to kind of fine tune it and not just go off and shoot it right away. So
Yep. That's true. That's true. And that's something that I think, I'm always grateful when I do work on a film where the director, if a lot of times the director is also the writer, and it's always nice when you get one who is kind of relaxed about that, who is like, hey, I'm willing to workshop this scene a little bit. I'm willing to experiment and let actors play with it. And if they come up with something, because sometimes, I mean, I've worked on movies where you've never even heard the dialogue read out loud until the day that they're shooting it. And then you discover, gosh, this sounds kind of stilted and weird. Which if you had time to workshop it, you would have like caught that and sharpened it. And so if you find that out on the day, it's always cool when you have a director who will recognize that and be like, no, let's play with it. Let's make it work. Rather than the one who's like, no, I want it done exactly like that. And you're like, okay, I'm going to try to make this line work.
I'm sure that kind of bogs down the set a little bit too. Like, all right, let me just be done. Let me do what you want, and then I get the hell out of here.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, but that's true with every movie, that the best experiences are the ones that are really collaborative, where it isn't like somebody with an iron fist going, it will be this way.
It's the way I want it.
I dealt with a couple of it takes the fun out of it.
Well, you know, I mean,
I get it.
I mean, I'm a writer. I get it. Sometimes there are things where you're like, no, it's written this way. It needs to be this way. And that's totally fine. But it's more, sometimes you work with somebody who clearly, it's like they don't, in their mind, all of the other people around them are like pawns for them to be like, you will do this and you will do this and you will do this. And it's like, I mean, okay, fine. But that's not really a fun environment to be in. When you're in an environment where everybody is trusting one another from an artistic standpoint and they're collaborative and they're like, hey, what if we tried this? Or, I mean, one of my favorite things that a director will do is when they'll say, you know what, let's film it once as written so that we've got that in the can. Let's make sure we do one take where everything is exactly as it is in the script. And then after that, let's play. And if we come up with something better, we'll use that. And if we don't, it's okay because we've got the scene as it's supposed to be.
And as an actor, you kind of got to scratch that itch that you're like, I wonder if I can do this to make the scene flow a little bit better. And you still get that.
This may sound bad, but to get the best performance out of me, I just feel like the director just needs to loosen up just a little. Let me do my thing. Let me do my thing. And then and if it doesn't work, I will respect it. But
right.
I mean, well, and it's that doesn't necessarily mean that the director isn't still in charge, because obviously the director is still the one that makes the final call. But it always feels better when a director works with you to get the scene to where it needs to be, as opposed to the director telling you it needs to be like this,
and then read you how like he would read the line almost.
Line readings are terrible.
You like that? Is that your favorite thing that people do? Like, no, I want you to do it this way. Then why don't you act in it, man?
But I mean, and I've done a lot of projects. I've worked with all kinds of different directors, and you learn to roll with whatever that director is. But I mean, if I look back and I go, the best experiences, the best ones are when everybody is just very trusting and like, hey, you're a professional and I'm a professional, let's work together. Rather than, I am the professional and I will tell you what to do, you silly little thing. You know.
Well, anyway, thank you for coming on, man. Yeah. It's been a joy. We haven't got to hang out recently, so I was excited to have you come on here and just chat about things. When you originally said you didn't have too much to promote, man, but you actually have a bunch of stuff that you're working on. So it's really cool to see that you're staying busy as always. But I'm excited for you to kind of get that well-deserved break that you need, man. You know, and you're gonna be a dad, and that's awesome. And I'm excited for you to document that journey and. Yeah, man. Hopefully, we can work together soon on a project because it's been a while. So
I hope so. I have a short list of people that if they ask me, I'm like, I will. You know, there's a short list of people that I'm like, I haven't seen a script, but if you ask me to do it, I'm in. And you guys are definitely on that list because I've enjoyed every experience I've had with you.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you so much. All right, guys. Well, this has been Indie Social. Thank you so much for tuning in to all the people that were here. Before we go, I just want to announce some upcoming shows that we have. Cole Chauvin, he's a dude who created Indie Social theme song. He's also my best friend. He's going to be on here. We have Michael James Menard, which he's in the audience right now, I believe. He's going to be on the show later this month. Amazing cinematographer, editor, all those things. Matty Weiland, he's going to be on here. We love working with him, and yeah, it's awesome. We have a good lineup of shows coming up, and then we have a Christmas project that we're working on, as we do every year, that we're going to premiere later on in the month as a Christmas special. So a lot of cool stuff coming up for Indie Social.
Alrighty, well that's our episode, guys. Thanks again, Rob, for coming.
Absolutely, thanks for having me.
Before the baby comes, we got to do some bar hopping and karaoke.
Oh yeah. I miss karaoke. I miss karaoke. Stupid